Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to perfect your sales pitch. And this is to do with public speaking, the spoken word, and the webinar came about from me working with a group of people that had to put forward their ideas and really struggled with it from a verbal communication, from a public speaking perspective. Now, here's a new way of thinking, and I want you to start to move forward with this thought. Every time you speak, your ideas, your suggestions, a recommended solution for a problem, an idea to smooth over a change process, you're actually selling. So the spoken word, the public speaking, the presenting, when you go to a meeting and you put forward an idea, you're selling an idea, you're selling your expertise, you're selling your knowledge, you're selling your experience. So when we think of our spoken word around selling ideas, we can put some marketing type strategies around it. There's several ways of looking at this. This might be you're just networking. You're at a barbecue and someone says, "What do you do?" So you just give a little spiel about yourself. Or you might be actually, when you go to a job interview, you're selling yourself. And while you won't go into an elevator pitch or a sales pitch, you are in a sales pitch. You're selling your experience, your qualifications, your knowledge to show that you match the job. And maybe you're pitching for business. So sometimes small businesses need to portray their ideas, their expertise, their qualifications so that someone buys them. Every time I put in for a public speaking workshop corporately, I'm doing my sales pitch. So in today's webinar, seminar, ask questions as we go. I've got the chat box open. Feel free to add anything to the chat box. Put in comments as well. Take notes and think and apply. So do you have an elevator pitch? What do you say when someone says, "What do you do?" How do you position your idea to be an idea that people accept and buy your idea? And if you do have to sell your business, your capability to get work, then some of this will help you from a sales perspective. What I'm going to talk about very briefly is, well, the first thing I found that people came to me all the time is, I'm really nervous. I don't do well at job interview. I don't do well selling myself. So the elevator pitch, then I'm going to talk about features versus benefits. When you're selling, people don't buy features, they buy benefits. Use of story, just touch on that. What's your value proposition? So I've got two people. Why do I buy you over the other person? What's the value you have? And one of the things you'll get always is objections. How do you handle that pushback when someone doesn't buy you? And one of the mistakes that people make is the follow-up after the pitch. You connect on LinkedIn and yet really nice to connect, and then nothing happens. And this person is an influencer that could really help you, and you do no further follow-up. All right, let's get started. How do you build confidence and control nerves? I'm just going to talk about two aspects here from a sales perspective that I think are really important. And the first one is mindset, and the second one is your non-verbal communication. When you walk into a meeting, when you walk into a job interview, when you walk into a pitch situation. Mindset. A salesperson's mindset. So when you're pitching, when you're putting forward an idea, the first sale must be to yourself. That means you must be aligned, you must be congruent, you must believe in your own message. Sometimes you know that car sales people and real estate agents are some of the least trusted of all the professions. And one of the things is they sometimes sell cars that are not good or that people can't afford. They'll sell a house and find mortgage finance for someone that really can't afford it just to get the sale. So please understand, people need to be you need to be aligned with your own message. Otherwise, people will get that you're not fully authentic, you're not fully genuine. So just run that check past your mind. I honestly believe, I feel it in my bones, this is the right way forward. It's in my gut, this is the right way to go. Mindset. Come from a mindset of abundance. When I miss out on work, I try and explore, I become curious and find out why, but I move on. So I go to a sales pitch, I put forward for work with this mindset of there's plenty of fish in the ocean. I'm a professional speaker and I help other professional speakers, and people say, but they'll take some of your work. Aren't you worried about, losing out? And that's a scarcity mindset. The philosophy with professional speakers is what we're doing is we're growing a bigger pie. So as I coach and help other speakers that may in fact get some of the work I do, it's about building the reputation of the profession, making more people know that if you get a professional speaker, you're going to get a good result for your staff, for your clients. There are fly-by-night public speakers. So the mindset, abundance, not scarcity. And FOWOT, fear of what others think of you. The Harvard Business Review also refers to this as FOPO, which is fear of other people's opinions. FOPO and FOWOT are, what if you don't like me? Sarah, what if you reject me? Stephen, what if you think my idea is a silly idea? What other people think of you is really none of our business. We need to focus on, and because we're aligned, the mindset is first say to ourselves, I think this is a really good idea. Be present, give it our best shot, and stop worrying about what people think of you. They may not buy your idea, they may reject you, but don't worry about FOWOT or FOPO, the same thing. Harvard Business Review reports that FOPO, many leaders suffer from FOPO, so therefore they continue doing what they've always done, and they are afraid of innovation, they're afraid of creativity, they're afraid of taking risks, because what if it goes wrong and other people will think negatively of me? So you need to get over that fear of what other people may think of you. And the second thing to deal with fear is your body language. In fact, I'll just jump forward a couple of slides. I'm assuming everyone watched his TED Talks. One of the TED Talks I recommend people watch is that from Amy Cuddy. And it's about faking it till you become it. And she talks about your nonverbal communication. So if you're nervous, I understand this sale, this job interview, this pitch is important to you. If you're nervous, fake it till you become it. In other words, great that you've seen it, Anita, and Sarah, you've seen it as well. Steve, can I recommend you see it? Walk into the room as if you matter. Walk into the room confident. I do keynote speaking. I speak at conferences. I walk on the stage, head up, smiling, looking really confident. Here's the secret. I am still shitting myself with the butterflies in my stomach, but I've learned that nobody knows it because I walk on and my body language exhibits the confidence. So let me just go back. So your body language, are you aggressive? Is your body language showing disinterest? Or are you coming across as shy, as disinterested, as really unsure of yourself, or angry? Please do not come across as angry. Perplexed, pensive. We all know that we've got 5 to 7 seconds to make a good first impression. And people make that judgment on what they see. And this is the same with job interview. So when you're networking and when you're sales pitching or when you're giving your elevator pitch, I would ordinarily say do a really good handshake, mirror and match. So if someone gives you a good firm handshake, you match. If it's a softer handshake, you match. We don't handshake anymore. So it's the other non-verbals that you need to mirror and match. Be nice and confident. Common mistakes that people make at networking meetings, at sales pitches, at job interviews. I'm just going to switch camera. I'll stop share. So common mistakes that we see and that I kind of coach people about is, get that out of the way. We see the passive, so the fig leaf, the reverse fig leaf, the crossing the legs over so I can become small and the hunching the shoulders. Good morning, everyone. My name's Peter and I'm really pleased to be here. The swaying in the wind. Then when you go to the mining sector, it doesn't have to be the mining sector, I see the more aggressive stances, wider gait, and they stand aggressive. The folded arms can be seen as closed. A good stance to have when you're standing and presenting is parallel to the ground. This is a neutral. So my arms are now in a parallel line with the bottom of the screen, also with the bottom of the floor. So as soon as you start to drop down, you get into that fig leaf and then you go into full-blown, really passive. So this is a neutral stance. The other one, of course, is by your side. So walk into a room, be confident. The smile is infectious. The smile also releases endorphins, serotonin, good chemicals that help build your energy. So just be aware of your first impression that you create when you go to a networking event, when you're presenting yourself, when it's your turn to speak at a meeting. Even via Zoom meetings. I've seen one person who is always side on. They're looking at their Excel spreadsheet and they kind of turn their head to the Zoom every now and then. And that's been a wrong impression. Just sit back down. So this is what I ask. Do a non-verbal audit. What is your body language saying when you walk into a room? Are you aware of how people perceive you? I mentioned the mining sector. Many of the mining engineers do not know that their stance, hands on hips, legs wide apart, is seen as aggressive. Your elevator pitch. This is the 30 to 60 seconds long presentation you give in response to the question. So what do you do, Peter? So what do you do, Anita? What do you do, Sarah? The shortest version, and it's a great starting place, is you know how ... I fix that. For me, you know how most people hate public speaking? I can fix that. You know how most people are nervous when they stand in front of 500 people to speak at a conference? I can fix that. That's the simplest version. So here's a model, and the variables are interchangeable. See what problem you solve. How are you different? Why should I care? Because if I don't care, then it doesn't matter. And then say what you do. Those four variables are interchangeable. So here's an example of my elevator pitch. So you know how most people hate public speaking. I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and I help you find your voice so you can effectively and confidently share your messages, make change in your workplace, inspire your colleagues, your communities, and you can make a difference that you want to. So Peter Jew's my name. If I can help you in any way, let me know. So variables, you can change them. So I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and I help people find their voice, find their confidence so they can share their messages so that you can make a difference in your workplace, in your communities, to your customers. What do you do? I mentioned before we went live that you may have one or two different elevator pitches depending on who the audience is. Excuse me. So one of the things comes down to the problem you solve. So if as an engineer you're speaking to another group of engineers, it may be your specialty that you specialize in, that you highlight, that tells them what you do in that particular project. If you're now with a group of people, engineers, geologists, project planners, supervisors, then what you do is it may be around the project level, so you keep the project on track. So I just want to leave you with the idea that you may need several different elevator pitches. Now, let me just repeat mine again and focus on how many times I say I, what I do, and how many times I focus on you. So I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and you would probably know that most people hate public speaking. Most people fear public speaking. I can help you find your voice so that you have the ability to change your audiences, your communities. You can have impact in your workplaces and make the changes that you want to happen. If I can help you in your journey with successful public speaking in any way, I'd be happy to help. The majority is about you. The mistake that people make is, I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and I've been doing that for 10 years. I'm a certified speaking professional, which puts me in the top 7% of speakers around the world. CSP, certified speaking professional. And I am very good at what I do. I am. And I also have an MBA, so I can, I think you've got the picture. A really good elevator pitch should result in, can you tell me more about that, Peter? So you know how most people hate public speaking? I fix that. Stop talking. So Peter, how do you fix that? Well, I run a series of workshops that will help you. There's a whole range of models on elevator pitches, by the way. So one of the things I want to talk about is in your elevator pitch, in your sales pitch, is to focus on the benefits and not the features. People do not buy features. They do not buy features, they buy the benefits. Quick question. If I send you down to a Bunnings store to buy a 4-inch nail, what have you just brought? Just type in the chat box. If I send you down to Bunnings and you've just to buy a 4-inch nail, what have you just brought? Sarah, 4-inch nail, thank you. Anita, a way of fixing or securing something. Yep. Stephen, a solution to your problem. Yeah. Perfect. So the 4-inch nail, it's not the nail, it's 4-inch, it's tungsten tip, it's got a bullet head or a flat head. All it is I want to fix the kids' cubby house. The nails come out. I want to secure the deck. I want to build the garden shed. I need the nail. So the classic example, and this occurred at the same time. So Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Bill Gates stood up and said, I give you the latest MP3 music player. It comes in 4 different colors, has 250 megabytes of memory, 7 hours of battery life, and holds 12,300 songs. I give you the latest MP3 music player. And Steve Jobs at the same time. I give you the iPod. Your entire music library in your pocket, anywhere, anytime. Which one are you going to buy? They're the same thing. So don't focus on your features. Focus on the benefits when you're pitching your sales, when you're pitching yourself. Story. You've heard of brand story. My story is that I'm a person who stutters, and people remember the story more so than the details. So what's the story that got you into what you're doing and the passion? Remember that alignment. So I'm aligned with helping people find their voice, overcome their fear, be effective in public speaking. And my story is that I couldn't speak for much of my life due to a severe stutter, which I still stutter, but not as bad. And so people, that helps me to sell. That's my unique selling proposition. So what's your story? Which moves us on to your value proposition. So why would I pick you over someone else who does the same thing? And this is the ability to articulate your differentiation, your value proposition. So your value proposition is, it's a positioning statement. And part of mine is, as a person who stutters, I've dealt with fear, with nerves, and I know how to help people believe in themselves when it comes to public speaking. And the benefit you provide to the people. Why do you do it uniquely well? It describes the target buyer, the problems you solve. Your value proposition. Just to put a little bit of science around this, and the source is the wider funnel, but this is a sales pitch now. Less job interview, more you want to get business. So this is what your prospect, the person who's going to buy your idea, your service, this is what they need. This is the other people, the competitors, what they have. And this is your value proposition. Where your competitors uniquely overlap with what the buyer wants, that's their competitive advantage. They can do that, you don't. This is your point of difference. Your competitors don't have that. So you highlight your point of difference. The points of parity is where there's no difference between you and your competitor. So you wouldn't spend much time on that other than reiterating your capability. You know, we need a 50 people strong team. Yep, I employ 50 people. The competitor employs 50 people. So I do have the capacity to provide 50 staff. when you highlight stuff outside of what the prospect desires, that's a point of irrelevant. Why would you talk about, and by the way, we can also work in Africa. If the prospect is looking for a project in Perth, we've also got services in Africa. So therefore, that's irrelevant. A really good strategy is when you look at this is how you can move your circle to include more. So there's a bigger overlap and there's less of what they need. And the closer you move that circle to completely matching what the prospect desires, then the easier it is for you to sell. And when they have a competitive advantage, oh, but the other guys can do this, how do you deal with those objections? How do you deal with the competitor's advantage? What do you have that's different, that overrides, that it is even more valuable than the competitor's advantage? So that's a really neat little tool of just helping you get your head around when you're putting yourself forward, your value proposition, why you, what you do, your elevator pitch or your sales pitch. So within a sales process, sales pitching, it's what's unique about you. So this is your unique selling proposition. And what are the strengths of your team? So this is your capability as an organization. My wife, Violet, also works in my business. I do public speaking presentation skills. I don't do emotional intelligence. I can't do difficult conversations. You want to give someone negative feedback? Look, I'm going to avoid that. However, I have someone that can give you skills to deal with difficult conversations. So I can help you stand up, present effectively, confidently with influence. And then when you have to talk about difficult conversations, objections, Violet's really good at doing that. So that's the team strengths. And what are the weaknesses? So you do have to acknowledge your deficiencies. So Peter, we need 15 trainers on the road at any one time. Northern Territory, South Australia, West Australia. There's only me. I can't do those big gigs. And of course, you need to handle those objections. All right. So just some tips to handle objections. These come straight out of Salesforce. Just express gratitude, be empathic with their problem, empathize, let discovery begin, curiosity, tell me more, ask, probe, confirm, show them the value. And we were knocked back from a quote for a real estate agent, and what I said to them was, so $65 per head, they had a team of I think 30 people, so $65 a head is not worth empowering your people to have the confidence to speak up and say their truth. And she said, well, when you look at it that way, no, they are worth it. It is worth it, and change their mind. And don't be afraid to use your referee, your testimonials, your proof. They're just some ideas. You need to become proficient if you're in the sales process of dealing with pushback, with objections. And finally, follow up. One of the mistakes with the sales process is they don't follow up. I follow up regardless. I may even miss out on the job. I will still follow up. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm available should you ever need me in the future. Remember, we specialize in this, this, and this. And this is one of the biggest issues facing small organizations at the moment. You can even do a video message. So you can get on your mobile phone and there's those apps where the video links to the email and you send the email, they open up and, hey, Phil, thanks for agreeing to meet with the other day. It was really great to meet you. You've got an amazing organization. I'd love to work with you at some stage. And if you keep getting pushback, do get some coaching. So sales pitching, selling yourself, be aligned with your idea. Don't worry about what other people think of you. Polish and practice your elevator pitch. Learn to handle objections. Be clear on your value proposition. Focus more on the benefits than the features. I mentioned webinars. If you are a speaker and a presenter and you go to conferences, how do you speak without notes? We see those people that read from a script, and we see those people that leave the lectern, walk around the platform, really engaging. How do you present without notes? Free webinar on the 20th of July, public speaking etiquette for online platforms. This is a paid webinar, $35. We're doing more and more Zoom meetings, more and more Skype meetings, more and more GoToWebinar, WebEx, virtual meetings, and we're seeing a lot of bad stuff happening. And finally, for those of you who are in Perth, so that's, I think, Stephen and Anita, Sarah, Victoria. So the virtual meetings would help you in Victoria. This is our upcoming workshops. Presentation skills online, difficult conversations online. How to have difficult conversations back here in Perth, 3rd of August, face-to-face. Winning presentation skills here in Perth, 30th of August, face-to-face. We're heading up north to Karratha, face-to-face workshops, and also Port Hedland. You know how to reach me. This webinar has been recorded. We'll make the recording available to you. And remember, every time you get before an audience, you've got an idea, it can be a meeting, job interview, you are selling yourself, your idea, your intellectual property, your knowledge, your expertise. It's a skill you can learn. Thanks, everyone.